Good morning, Jean. How are you? My first time ever making a video. Had a little trouble, so I called my son over and he showed me which buttons to push, and I'm making it. May not win any awards, and you may turn it off right away, but just wanted to see how you were doing and reciprocate, because I enjoyed your video. But mine may be much longer because women always have lots to talk about, and that applies to me. Anyway, I'll start off with one of my most interesting tours, and one that usually people don't know too much about. My husband got a tour of duty in Tehran, Iran, and he was able to take the family, and that was a 2-year tour, and very interesting. Was not easy. Many women would not go, or if they went, many of them came home before their 2 years was over. But I made it. I said I was determined not to go home. We had a beautiful villa. We lived right among the Iranians. I and my husband worked for the Imperial Iranian Air Force. They paid the Air Force in some way to work and advise and help train the Iranians in all different fields. And they had the other branches of the service over there too. And then I eventually got a job at the same Imperial Iranian Air Force base, and I rode the bus on this probably 20-passenger Mercedes bus, and they varied the hours that we were picked up because of security. At that time, there were terrorist groups over there. We had our best friend assassinated just a few blocks near our home, in their home. Was very sad, and my husband was the escort officer. But anyway, when I was a secretary, I was picked up by the same bus and rode with the one my husband rode on. He was what they call the bus commander. Although they had a Iranian guard and a bus driver, but we didn't have much comfort in, we're not thrilled with the guard. He didn't speak much English. And anyway, that's how I got to work, maybe a 30-minute drive. And it was interesting, just as a secretary. But I guess the pay was good, and it was something to do. We had 3 kids over there with us, 2 in high school, 1 in middle school. But anyway, driving was probably the worst in the whole U.S., but we had our station wagon shipped over there, and I would drive on non-work days to the commissary in BX, which was downtown, and not an easy drive, but it was an interesting tour. Driving just was terrible. But enough of that. I have many other things to talk about. I'm not sure if they will interest you. But one thing I do think you might be interested in, if I don't make a very long story out of it, my dad was an author like you. He wrote 2 books in the mid-70s. True, what he called fictionalized biography about my grandfather, who was an Indian country doctor, and he treated Belle Starr and also saved Geronimo's life. He drove a long way, either by horseback or in a covered wagon. I can't remember now. And at this time, he was living in McLeod, had owned 2 drugstores, as well as practicing medicine and driving, going these long distances. He was very well known all over the state of Oklahoma. And my grandmother was the first woman pharmacist in the state of Oklahoma. But this is the book my dad wrote. My grandfather was Dr. Jesse Mooney. There's Belle Starr's picture. That's my grandfather's picture. And there's my dad's name. My dad, Colonel Charles W. Mooney. My grandfather, Dr. Jesse Mooney. There was another book, similar, but these were written, like I said, in 1975, and he typed them on a manual Royal typewriter, I believe it was, and there were typos and they weren't the best books, but of course we had so many family Moonies that people were very interested in these books. But then recently, 4 months ago probably, my daughter put these 2 books together and made a better book, and it is on the market now, and we are marketing it, and this is my daughter's new book. That's Mooney Drugstore, which my grandfather had 2 drugstores, one in McLeod and one in Hera, and there's the horse and buggy. And anyway, if I ever have the chance and it works out that we meet, I will give you one of these books. My daughter is Mariella, and she's done a great job of putting both of Dad's first books together, making this great book, and she did a lot of background work in finding out more history, and it's just a much better book, and people are very interested in it. Anyway, enough about that. I probably already bored you. Maybe I should clear you up on my past life. I was married for 30 years to my husband. That was career military in the Air Force. But after 30 years, we were divorced. He was a workaholic. When he retired from the Air Force, and that was for a big company in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So he got up early and went to work, and maybe came home at 7, sometimes a little later, trying to get ahead in this company. He had his own life, mostly working, and I was playing tennis and bowling, and had friends, girlfriends, took dance lessons, and made my own life, because he worked so many hours, and of course he had to get lots of rest, although he was still very young, 40 something, I guess. Anyway, it ended in divorce, and we both thought we would be happier. So I met somebody who lived close to Baton Rouge, had a big house that we bought together, or he paid for it, on 7 acres. We had a pond, and we had a place for our big motorhome out back, and actually it had horse stables, and I think he ended up tearing them down, but anyway, 7 acres of land, and a private road. You couldn't see the house from the street. A hot tub, a lovely house, 3 baths, 4 bedrooms, just like in the country. But then when you went outside the driveway, you were on a highway and on kind of Main Street in this small town. And I was with this man at least 15 years, but he was recovering alcoholic, and I found cans of beer or bottles, and just didn't work out. So I moved to Florida, where my daughter was living, and met another man.